Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Liberal Party's Mark Carney wins elections to replace Justin Trudeau as Canada's Prime Minister. Vows to keep tariffs until US shows respect. Israel halts Gaza electricity supply as next round of truce talks set to resume. Israel delegation to visit Doha for truce talks. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio and US West Asia envoy Steve Witkoff to engage with Ukrainian President Zelensky in Saudi Arabia as Europe watches with bated breath to developments. India and the European Union to begin the 10th round of negotiations for a proposed free trade agreement in Brussels. And in sports, men in blue create history. India wins ICC Champions Trophy for a record third time, beat New Zealand by 4 wickets in Dubai. Mark Carney is going to be Canada's new Prime Minister after Liberal Party overwhelmingly elected him to replace Justin Trudeau. Carney won 85.9% of the ballots cast in the Liberal Party leadership vote. Though elections must be held by October, we get you a detailed report.
First place, the next Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, with 131,674 votes, resulting in 29,457 allocated points, representing 85.9% of the vote.
My government will put into action our plan to build a stronger economy, to create new trading relationships with reliable trading partners, and to secure our borders.
The 59-year-old economist has been influential in both Canada and England. Mark Carney was born near the Arctic in a small town of Fort Smith in the Northwest Territories. He studied at Harvard in the United States and Oxford in England, and the initial part of his career saw him make a fortune as an investment banker at the Goldman Sachs, shuffling base between New York, London, Tokyo, and Toronto. Carney then joined the Canadian Civil Service, eventually being appointed Governor of the Bank of Canada in 2008. In 2013, the then British Prime Minister David Cameron tapped him to lead the Bank of England. Carney became the first non-Briton to lead the bank in its more than 300-year history. Carney will be the first Canadian Prime Minister with no political experience. He has never held an elected public office or served in a government cabinet. Carney swept the polls on the plank of standing up to the threats of the US President Donald Trump.
There's someone who's trying to do the opposite. There's someone who's trying to weaken our economy. Yeah, Donald Trump. He's attacking Canadian families, workers, and businesses, and we cannot let him succeed. And we won't. We won't.
Carney may not be the Prime Minister for long, with a general election due soon that the opposition Conservatives are slight favourites to win according to the polls. Aarti Rana's report for DD India.
US President Donald Trump on Sunday refused to rule out the possibility that the US economy will head into recession this year and that inflation will rise as his trade tariff policies could cause uncertainty and market turbulence. We get you more in this report ahead.
Donald Trump's unpredictable decisions on the fate of sweeping tariffs is upending the market's movements as mystery remains on the course he intends to take. Starting in February, Trump announced 25% tariffs on the United States' neighboring countries. Those were delayed for a month and were supposed to come into effect from March 4th until Trump decided on March 5th to pause tariffs on automakers for another month. He again changed course, pausing tariffs on Mexican and Canadian goods until April. Trump continues to make changes. On Friday, he threatened new tariffs on Canadian lumber and dairy products. Those tariffs could go into effect on Monday. Trump sought to downplay the impact his back and forth trade announcements have had on financial markets, saying the tariffs on Mexico and Canada are part of his long-term strategy and could go up in the future.
What I have to do is build a strong country. You can't really watch the stock market.
And as trade tensions have led to worries that a recession could be looming, Trump declined to hazard a guess whether the United States will experience one in 2025.
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition because what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America. That's a big thing. And there are always periods of, it takes a little time. It takes a little time.
Meanwhile, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick indicated the tariffs that could go into effect on April 2nd will continue until Trump is comfortable with how both countries are handling the flow of fentanyl. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum claimed that dialogue and respect had prevailed in achieving a pause on U.S. tariffs.
We are not extremists, but we are clear that there are some inalienable principles. We can't give up on our sovereignty. Our people cannot be affected by the decisions made by foreign governments or hegemonies. In this case, we'll act immediately.
In a message to U.S. President Donald Trump, Canada's next Prime Minister Carney pledged to keep retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods until Americans show us respect.
The Americans want our resources, our water, our land, our country. Think about it. If they succeeded, they would destroy our way of life.
Seesaw tariff announcements have unnerved Wall Street as investors say flip-flopping moves by the Trump administration to roll back levies on trading partners are causing confusion rather than bringing relief. The statements do not assure the investors on the Wall Street and across the globe that the roller coaster ride of the markets is going to end soon. Bureau Report, DD India.
The U.S. hostage envoy to Gaza, Adam Boehler, held unprecedented direct talks with Hamas and termed the meeting as very helpful. Boehler said that he understood Israel's consternation that the U.S. had held talks at all with the group, but said that he had been seeking to jumpstart the fragile negotiations. He was confident a hostage release deal could be reached within weeks. Last week, U.S. President Donald Trump threatened further destruction of Gaza if all remaining hostages were not released, issuing what he called a last warning to Hamas leaders. Of the 251 hostages taken by the Hamas terrorists during the October 7th attack, 58 remain in Gaza, including 5 Americans, of which 4 have been confirmed dead. Israel is sending a delegation to Doha for further Gaza truce talks on Monday, while Hamas demands negotiations on the ceasefire's second phase, including a full Israeli withdrawal and the lifting of the blockade. Israel seeks to extend the truce until mid-April. Protests in Tel Aviv call for securing hostages. DD India's Mihir Mekuri puts all of this together for us in this report.
Israel is preparing to send a delegation to Doha for further talks on the Gaza truce on Monday, as Hamas calls for the immediate start of negotiations on the ceasefire's second phase, which it hopes will bring a permanent end to the war. Over the weekend, Hamas representatives met with mediators in Cairo, emphasizing the urgent need for unrestricted humanitarian aid to re-enter Gaza, which has been under siege for months. Hamas's key demands for the second phase of the ceasefire includes a full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, the lifting of the Israeli blockade, the reconstruction of Palestinian territory, and financial support to rebuild the region. On the other hand, Israel seeks an extension of the truce's first phase until mid-April. The first phase of the truce, which ended on March 1, brought 6 weeks of relative calm, including the exchange of 25 Israeli hostages and 8 bodies for about 1,800 Palestinian prisoners. Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, thousands of Israeli protesters gathered outside the defense ministry, demanding the government secure a hostage deal with Hamas.
The majority of the Israelis are for bringing back the hostages and against starting some military actions back. This is, you can see it in every public poll, and it's very clear. The problem is the government and Mr. Netanyahu.
How these talks unfold and lead to an end to the war will be something interesting to watch. Mihir Makri's report for DD India.
In an effort to pressurize Hamas into releasing hostages, Israel ordered an immediate halt to Gaza's electricity supply on Sunday. Israel's decision comes a week after it blocked all aid supplies to the war-battered territory. Hamas described the electricity cut as blackmail, a term it had also used after Israel blocked the aid. Syria's interim president Ahmad al-Shara has launched an investigation after hundreds of people were killed in fighting between security forces and the loyalists of deposed President Bashar al-Assad. In a televised speech, Ahmad Shara vowed to hunt down the perpetrators of violent clashes after reports of mass killings.
We confirm that we will hold accountable with all firmness and without leniency anyone who was involved in the bloodshed of civilians or harmed our people, or who exceeded the powers of the state or exploited power to achieve his own goals.
In its latest toll on Monday, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights War Monitor said 973 civilians had perished since March 6th in the coastal heartland of the Alawite minority community to which the toppled president belongs. United Nations Rights Chief Volker Turk said on Sunday that the killings must cease immediately, while the Arab League, the United Nations, the United States, Britain and other governments have condemned the violence. US officials are planning to use Tuesday's meeting with a Ukrainian delegation in Saudi Arabia in part to determine whether Ukraine is willing to make material concessions to Russia to end the conflict, according to the two US officials. The talks come after last month's disastrous Trump-Zelensky meeting, which erupted into an argument. US officials will be watching closely for signs that Ukraine is serious about improving ties with the Trump administration. One US official warned that Ukraine could not claim to want peace while refusing to compromise on anything, suggesting that its stance on borders would be a key test. Meanwhile, President Trump expressed optimism, telling reporters about Air Force One that he believed significant progress would be made during the week.
Let's see what happens with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. I think you're going to have eventually, and maybe not in the distant future, you're going to have some pretty good results coming out of Saudi Arabia this week. Well, I think they will sign the minerals deal, but I want them to want peace.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is pushing for renewed peace efforts, expressing hope for progress in bringing peace closer and continuing support ahead of the crucial talks with the US. In his nightly address from Kyiv, Zelensky vowed to persist in efforts to end the conflict. His remarks come as he prepares to arrive in Saudi Arabia on Monday.
We will continue working to bring peace closer. There will be my visit to Saudi Arabia. Also today, the meeting saw our teams, Ukraine and the United States in Saudi Arabia, is further prepared. We hope for results both in preparing closer and in continuing support.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky travels to Saudi Arabia on Monday for key talks with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. This comes ahead of a crucial meeting between Ukrainian and US officials later this week. The discussions aim to establish a framework for ending Ukraine's ongoing conflict with Russia, but with US aid to Kyiv currently paused, the stakes are high. We get you more in the report ahead.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to Saudi Arabia comes as Ukraine and the US prepare for critical negotiations over the future of the conflict with Russia. Zelensky will hold key talks with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on Monday. This will be followed by Ukrainian diplomatic and military representatives meeting with the American team on Tuesday. The Ukrainian side will include country's Foreign Affairs Minister Andriy Sybiha. Washington's Special Envoy Steve Witkoff confirmed that discussions are underway to finalize the meeting's location in either Riyadh or Jeddah.
We're now in discussions to coordinate a meeting with the Ukrainians in Riyadh or even potentially Jeddah. And I think the idea is to get down a framework for a peace agreement and an initial ceasefire as well.
The talks are particularly significant given that Ukraine was excluded from a February meeting in Riyadh between US and Russian officials. That exclusion raised concerns in Kiev and among European allies about the direction of US diplomacy. Despite a strained relationship between the two leaders, President Trump recently said that he had received a letter from Zelensky expressing Ukraine's willingness to negotiate. Trump also mentioned Ukraine's interest in signing a minerals deal with the US, a potential economic incentive for Washington's continued support for Kiev.
I think the mineral deal is under question. For a start, if the Americans are withdrawing with one hand, it puts less pressure on the Ukrainians to do a deal. On the other hand, it is, to be fair, the Ukrainians do want to salvage something from the relationship. I think it's also questionable that President Trump is purely transactional and purely commercial in his interests, because if he were, then actually this deal would have been done last week and he would not have put the Ukrainians off in the manner in which he did, or ambushed them in the manner in which they were.
The meeting in Saudi Arabia is set to take place at a critical moment. US aid to Ukraine is currently on hold, adding pressure on Kiev as it seeks continued support. European nations have pledged to increase defense spending, but NATO data shows that last year Washington provided over 40% of Ukraine's military aid, something that Europe may struggle to replace. Meanwhile, the battlefield situation remains volatile. Both Russia and Ukraine continue to launch attacks and counterattacks, underscoring the urgency of finding a diplomatic resolution. After a public spat with Donald Trump, Zelensky has now expressed full commitment to a constructive dialogue with the US. The key question now is how would the truce negotiations proceed? What would the Russians agree to, even as they make significant gains on the battlefield? Nupur Praveen reporting for DD India.
Tensions escalated on Monday as North Korea fired multiple unidentified ballistic missiles, according to South Korea's military. The launch came at 1:50 local time from Gyeonggi province into the West Sea, also known as the Yellow Sea. The missile test coincided with the start of Freedom Shield, a major annual joint military drill between Seoul and Washington. Members of the House of Representatives of Nepal reiterated that reinstating the dethroned monarchy in the country is impossible. The concerns rose when thousands of supporters gathered in Kathmandu to greet Nepal's former king Gyanendra Shah and demanded his abolished monarchy be reinstated on Sunday. Responding to the pro-monarchist crown and groups, leaders of the major political parties in the House of Representatives said that monarchy cannot be an alternative to the republic. Meanwhile, another member of the House of Representatives of Nepal called the demands objectionable. India and the 27-nation European Union bloc will start the 10th round of negotiations for a proposed free trade agreement in Brussels. The talks are expected to focus on resolving remaining issues so that the agreement can be finalized by end of this year. The talks in Brussels from March 10th to 14th come immediately on the heels of top-level engagement between the two sides, with the European Commission's President Ursula von der Leyen and a full college of commissioners visiting India late last month for detailed talks on the entire spectrum of the relationship. Excitement is brewing in Mauritius ahead of the two-day state visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during which he will also be the chief guest for the National Day of Mauritius. The Indian diaspora, which comprises about 70% of Mauritius' population, is preparing to welcome the Prime Minister of India. DD India's correspondent Akshay Dongre brings you this report from Port Louis, Mauritius. Let's listen in.
It may appear that where I'm standing right now is a part of an Indian city or town, but you'd be surprised to know that I'm thousands of miles away from the Indian borders. This is the capital of Mauritius, a country, an island nation that has about 70% of people are of Indian descent here, and that is the reason why the Indian heritage, the Indian culture has been preserved over hundreds of years. And in fact, you can see still there are people who cherish their Indian heritage, their Indian lineage and their Indian culture with the Indian delicacies that are served here around the country, the kind of music that is cherished by the people, and the kind of cultural connect that Mauritius has with India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is arriving in Mauritius on 11th of March to attend the National Day of Mauritius, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be attending as the chief guest in Mauritius. Both the countries have robust ties in terms of trade, in terms of cultural connect, in terms of people-to-people connect as well. With camera person Mahesh Sharma, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
Akshay Dongre also spoke to a group of women who are working at the Indian Culture Center towards better Indo-Mauritian relations. Let's take a look.
Well, it may appear that I am in India right now in some city or town, but I am in fact thousands of miles away from the Indian borders and having one of the most cherished drink. That is one of the perhaps most popular drink in India as well. This is a cup of tea. But I am right now not in India, I am in Mauritius, and behind this stall that you are seeing is in the Indian Culture Center in Port Louis, the capital of Mauritius. And in fact, these wonderful ladies who are standing right behind me are running different kind of stalls here. They are also part of the Indian Culture Center, and we'll try and speak to them to understand that what is the significance of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival here in the country to be the chief guest of the National Day of Mauritius.
To maintain our Indian culture well coming from Mother India. Right. So somehow our India is our mother. So wherever we go, we spread. And once when we came to Mauritius, believe me, the Mauritius is, you never feel that you are out of India. It's a mini India. And especially many of them, they came from Bihar. So they also maintain that Bhojpuri here. Our association name is also Indian Mauritius Women's Era, where Indian Hindu and Mauritian Hindu all we get together and we promote our culture. Today we are doing the fundraising because we are going to do Holi Mela on the Holi Day. So for that reason, we have selected our chai, which is very famous. Our Prime Minister, our Shriman Prime Minister, his arrival is speechless for us. Our emotions overflow. We are very happy, and as he has started his journey from the chai, so we decided to sell the chai today, especially to honor him.
I feel very proud he's coming here in Mauritius.
I'm personally very thrilled and happy that Modi ji is coming. It's we are waiting for him.
But I'm a member of the Indo-Mauritius Women Era, which is a very proud moment for me that I'm here and I'm able to help. And regarding to the Modi arrival, we are all very happy because वो हमारी ये जैसे प्राइम मिनिस्टर नहीं है, ही इज लाइक आवर फैमिली, हमारा ही इज कमिंग फ्रॉम देयर, जैसे हमारा बरसों से कोई आ रहा है ना, ऐसा लग रहा है। मोदी जी की जय, भारत माता की जय।
You have it, people of the Indian diaspora here quite excited at the arrival of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and it goes without saying, like the lady mentioned, like Dr. Shiksha mentioned, that it's not a question that whether the relation between the two countries will improve upon the arrival of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The relations have seen an upward trajectory in the last 10 years, especially under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, where he has been part of the national celebration of the National Day of Mauritius, and he's again coming to become the chief guest of the National Day of Mauritius, which is going to further enhance the relation between the two countries. With camera person Mahesh Sharma, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
The second leg of the budget session of Indian Parliament is underway. Both the houses began their sitting at 11 a.m. this morning with the question hour. However, both the upper and the lower house of Parliament witnessed uproars from the opposition benches during the question hour, after which the Lok Sabha was adjourned till noon. While a walk of the opposition was staged in Rajya Sabha this morning on the issue of delimitation and the voter ID card issue, following protest and sloganeering, Union Minister and Leader of the Upper House, JP Nadda, lashed out at the opposition for not following the protocols and rules of the House. Armenian Foreign Affairs Minister Arafat Mirzoyan will meet External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar in New Delhi on Monday. The Armenian Foreign Minister arrived in New Delhi on a Sunday on a two-day visit. During his visit, the foreign dignitary will also deliver a lecture at the Indian Council of World Affairs. Armenian Foreign Minister Mirzoyan earlier visited India in April 2022 to participate in the Raisina dialogue. India and Armenia share friendly relations rooted in historical ties between the people of the two countries. In 2022, the 30th anniversary of the establishment of the diplomatic relations between India and Armenia was celebrated. Days after former Indian Premier League founder Lalit Modi filed an application with the Indian High Commission in London to surrender his Indian passport, Vanuatu Prime Minister Jordan Napat on Monday directed the Citizenship Commission to cancel the passport issued to Modi, citing the rejection of Indian authorities' request for an Interpol alert due to insufficient evidence. The Vanuatu Prime Minister in a statement said that while background checks showed no criminal convictions, he was recently informed that Interpol had rejected Indian requests for an alert on Lalit Modi due to insufficient evidence, which would have led to the rejection of a citizenship application. He clarified that a Vanuatu passport is a privilege, not a right, and applicants must provide legitimate reasons for citizenship. PM Napat has said that in the recent years, the Vanuatu government has strengthened the due diligence process for its citizenship by investment program, resulting in more applications failing enhanced scrutiny by the Vanuatu Financial Intelligence Unit. Let's talk of sports. Definitely a big moment for Indian cricketing fans as India clinched a thrilling 4-wicket win over New Zealand in the final of the Champions Trophy 2025 to clinch the ICC event for a record-breaking third time. Chasing 252 against the Black Caps, India reached home in 49 overs at Dubai International Cricket Stadium. Indian spinners put up a splendid show, helping the team restrict the Black Caps for 251 for 7. Kuldeep Yadav and Varun Chakravarti picked 2 wickets apiece, while Ravindra Jadeja and Mohammad Shami scalped 1 wicket each. Daryl Mitchell and Michael Bresswell played crucial knocks for the Black Caps. In the chase, India got off to a flying start thanks to Rohit Sharma's dominating 76. Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul also played crucial knocks as India edged past New Zealand. Fans across India and all over the world were seen joyously celebrating India's big victory. There were pure raw emotions in the eyes of every cricketing fan as they all came out on the streets at night to celebrate the men in blue. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi also congratulated the Indian cricket team on clinching the ICC Champions Trophy title. In a post on microblogging site X, Prime Minister Modi said, and I quote him, "An exceptional game and an exceptional result. Proud of our cricket team for bringing home the ICC Champions Trophy. They've played wonderfully through the tournament. Congratulations to our team for the splendid all-round display." That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.